We live in a neurotypical world, and our way of doing things doesn't always line up with theirs. And you know what? That's okay too. When you start to embrace it, when you really start to accept who you are with your ADHD, I can't begin to tell you the difference that makes. All right, welcome to the bonus episode of ADHD and with Jorie Houlihan. I am Jorie Houlihan. I am your host, and I am your guide for the dopamine deprived. This is a bonus episode because my seasons, I have decided, are going to be 13 episodes long. So they're going to kind of go with the seasons of the year. And 13 is my lucky number. Both my kids were born on the 13th of their month, which is really kind of weird and also really cool. So that's how it's going to be. But I've already done 13. The 13th episode was my last episode with Dr. Robin Buckley, which if you have not listened to it, you really should because it's fantastic. She's amazing. But I wanted to end this season with a little bit of a pep talk. Because we're going into the new year, right? We're going into the holidays. We're going into the new year. I've already done the episode on how to survive the holidays when you have ADHD, right? But New Year's tends to bring a special kind of pressure to those of us with ADHD. And that's what I want to talk about today. When we get to this time of year, people with ADHD tend to be in one of two categories. And I have been both of these people, by the way. The first one is, I'm going to do all the things. We get super motivated. We write down the laundry list of things we want to accomplish and the things we want to do and be and see and all that. And we have zero plan pretty much for any of it. We are kind of a fly by the seat of our pants kind of people, which does not always work in our favor, in case you haven't noticed that already. But I love our spontaneity. That being said, so then we try to do all the things, right? We try to do all the things and we get completely overwhelmed with all of the things, in part because we don't probably have a plan and because we're trying to do too many things. And so then we end up doing none of them. And then we feel really bad about ourselves again. Or we are the people who we've done that part so much that we've said, forget it. I'm just not going to create any goals in the new year. I'm just not going to. And some of you are going to be okay with that. And some of you are going to feel bad about yourself. So how do we combat this, right? Because it's a big thing, man. People, all the advertisers, man, they know, especially health and fitness. My gosh, it is ridiculous. Anyway, so this is what I'm saying. You do you. You don't have to set any goals and you don't have to have any guilt about that, honestly. Because sometimes just feeling like you have to set a goal, are you really setting a goal you want or are you just doing it because you think you have to? Like, don't do that. Nobody needs that. You don't need that for sure. And then if you do want to set goals, I am begging you to please just pick one. Okay? Pick one that really means something to you because that usually helps us, we're more likely to do the things if it's something that's really important to us. But I also, when we pick too many things, again, it's just chaos in our head. And that's one of the reasons that we become paralyzed. So just pick one. And when you pick the one, I want you to just break it down into chunks. Just go, okay, let's break this down into like beginning, middle, end. Right? That's simple enough. And then when you get to the beginning, you can go, okay, now what can I do from the beginning that's going to make this easier? Just keep breaking it down. It really does make a big difference. But all of this means nothing if you don't take action. And that is where we really struggle, is the taking action part. Because we get a lot of dopamine from planning to take action. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And then the day comes to start doing this. And we don't. Now, sometimes it's because we're low on dopamine. And without dopamine, it is really hard to get started. That is one of the biggest challenges for people with ADHD. Or we might get started, but then the dopamine might run out when we get to that, because every project has its boring phase. Let's just be honest about that. What are you going to do to keep the dopamine going? Like these are things you have to include in your plans that neurotypical people don't. They get a hit of dopamine just thinking about completing a task. Like, isn't that so nice for them? We don't get that. So we have to plan. Okay, so this is going to be kind of boring, I think. So what can I do to make this more fun? Gamify it. Because if it's boring, that's generally speaking what we have to do. We have to gamify, right? If it is something that just feels too complex, okay, well, how can I break this down just a little bit more so it feels a little more doable? Or what is the smallest next right step? So in that interview with Dr. Robin, we discussed how while most people think that motivation comes before momentum, it really is the other way around. You have to start taking action because when you start taking action, you start to feel good about yourself and you kind of go, oh, okay, we got some movement here. Okay, let's do another thing. So the example I use a lot is my laundry and how much I hate it. And when that mound of laundry has taunted me for the last time, that particular instance, I will say, okay, you know what? I'm going to hang or fold 3 things and I'll go from there. And the idea is if I hang those 3 things and then I'm really like, I really just cannot do any more today. I did what I committed to. I'm still 3 clothing pieces folded ahead than I was before I started. And I can maybe try it later in the day or maybe do some more tomorrow. Or what usually happens is I'll do those first 3 and then I'll go, okay, that was kind of easy. Okay, I can do 3 more. Okay, I guess I could do 3 more after that. All right, fine, 3 more. And the next thing you know, the whole thing is done. And the whole thing took me probably 5 minutes. In my brain, that was going to take an hour and a half. You all know what I'm talking about with that, too, by the way. When you are planning the goal, whatever the goal is, you notice I'm saying goal 1, right? If you are choosing to even set a goal, trying to break it down, trying to figure out, if you're looking at a lot of steps and you're not sure what the next step is, asking yourself, all right, well, what is the consequence if I don't get this done today? And by doing that, that's going to help you kind of rule out a lot of low hanging fruit, things that might be easy enough to like check some things, check the checkbox, right? And if you're super low on dopamine, that might be a way to get yourself some, okay, is to do a couple of those. But I don't want you using all of your energy on that. What I really want you to look at is, okay, if I don't do this today, well, then this other thing that I definitely have to get done by tomorrow, I won't be able to get done. So I have to do this one today. Things like that. That's what you're looking for. My biggest tip for this, for right now, is I want you, if you haven't yet, I really want you to learn to, well, at least start to learn to embrace your ADHD. I don't know if it's an American thing. I have to assume that people all over the world kind of have the same attitude, but a lot of people go, they get the diagnosis and they're like, I'm going to beat this. I'm going to fight this. This is not a disease that can be cured. This isn't a disease. It's a brain difference. You have a different operating system. You can't cure that. You're stuck with it for life, and that's not a bad thing. It feels like it sometimes because you don't always know how to work with it. And it feels like that sometimes because even on the best of days, we live in a neurotypical world and our way of doing things doesn't always line up with theirs. And you know what? That's okay too. When you start to embrace it, when you really start to accept who you are with your ADHD, and I am speaking from my own experience with this and the experience of lots of clients I've had over the years, when you start to truly embrace it, I can't begin to tell you the difference that makes. Things just suddenly become easier. You have more compassion for yourself. When I mentioned earlier about if I do 3 things and I have to stop, it's okay. I can maybe do some later. I know some of you got this little ugh in your stomach, right? Well, no, because I don't ever go back. There's something about that embracing all of this where I go, that's all or nothing thinking. I have to do all the things, otherwise I'm not going to go back. I can always go back. And I always do eventually. And I want you to start realizing that. I want you to start embracing all these things that sometimes we just absolutely hate. But sometimes our way of processing information is what makes us amazing. In fact, it's that way most of the time. But it doesn't feel like that for a lot of you because you're still in the process of accepting that it is what it is. There are so many amazing things that come with ADHD. We are out of the box thinkers. We're creative problem solvers. We are compassionate. We're empathetic. We're great storytellers. We're loyal. We just have our own unique way of looking at the world. And I think that it is a blessing. I know for a lot of you, especially right now, if you're really struggling, that it feels like anything but a blessing. And I don't want to diminish that because I completely understand. Okay. More than you will ever know. Trying to not cry. I still have days where I'm like, what the fuck? What is going on with my brain today? But most of the time, I don't have those days. Not anymore. So going into the new year, that is my hope for you, is that you are going to come to maybe, even if it's not love your ADHD, come to appreciate it and come to accept that you have it. It's there. And eventually you'll get to that place where you're ready to do something with it and to learn how to work with it. I say you have to learn to dance with ADHD. I hope that everybody has an amazing holiday season, an amazing new year. For the next couple weeks, maybe it's only 1 week, I can't remember now, but there'll be 1 or 2 replays of previous episodes, just so for some of you, maybe you haven't seen those yet or listened to them. I have some really great programs coming up this year. If you are interested in coaching, in fact, actually, I have one that you can start looking into now. If you are one of those people who has said, I really want to do something with this and I don't want to be messing around with it. I really want to take action and I really want to start working on this pronto. Then I really would recommend you take a look at my Clarity and Action Intensive. This is my premium coaching course. It is over 12 weeks, over 5 months, depending on your schedule. And we really get into all of it. And you will walk away with understanding your brain way better than you did before going into it and having an action plan to help you once you're done with this course. I only have 3 spots open for it at this recording. So if this is something you're interested in, I will have the link in the show notes. And for the rest of you, I have some really amazing stuff coming up in the new year. And yeah, I'm really excited about that. I just want women to feel empowered. I want women to feel empowered anyway, even if they don't have ADHD. But for those of us with ADHD, that feeling of empowerment, it's a lot harder to come by sometimes. And I want all of you to feel what it feels like to really feel empowered when you understand how your brain works. It makes such a big difference because when you understand this and when you understand how this works for you, it is amazing the things you can accomplish. I wouldn't have any of this stuff going on right now if I had not done that. So if you need proof that what I'm talking about works, the fact that I have a podcast and have been consistently putting out content every week, just the consistency alone of that should tell you something. All right. So thank you so much for listening to this bonus episode of ADHD. And I hope that you go into your new year ready to embrace your ADHD and take on the world. Thank you so much for listening. I cannot wait to see you in the new year. This is ADHD and with Jorie Houlihan. Ladies, in 2026, let's stay curious.